Well, good morning. Good morning. I want to thank everybody for coming. First of all, I want to welcome back to Cleveland Director Clancy and really thank him for assigning people here locally. And we've had a very good relationship, a very good partnership that has allowed us to be prepared as we move into the Republican National Convention. And I also want to thank all of our partners who are also working with us to ensure a safe and successful convention. You know, I had a tour of this facility, and in that tour I learned some of the capabilities, and I know it will be tied into our Emergency Operations Center and other things. So we're pretty confident that as we move forward, we will be able to put on a safe and successful convention starting next week. I'd like to introduce Director Clancy, who will have some comments.
Thank you, Mayor Jackson, and welcome to everyone. Good morning. Before I begin, I would like to thank Mayor Jackson for his gracious hospitality during my stays here in Cleveland, my visits here in Cleveland, and also to the citizens of Cleveland. I want to thank you for being so welcoming to all of our teams that have come in certainly from Washington. I'll speak specifically about the Secret Service. I think when we get through these events the next week or so, I may have some agents that want to be transferred out here. So thank you for your hospitality to our agents as well. I also want to thank all the representatives of the federal, state, and local agencies that are here today that comprise the Multi-Agency Communications Center, also known as the MAC. The MAC will have approximately 73 different agencies represented here. I believe this is a great demonstration of the strong leadership that exists between the law enforcement community, public safety, and the private sector. On behalf of the members of the United States Secret Service, I want to express my sincere and deep appreciation for your many contributions over the past year as we began planning for the Republican National Convention. On December 19, 2015, Secretary Johnson designated the Republican National Convention as a national special security event. For the Secret Service, this designation means that we serve as a principal agency in designing and implementing the operational security plan. This designation brings additional agencies and assets throughout the Department of Homeland Security and agencies across the government to include the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Federal Emergency Management Agency that will assist in fortifying the protective operations as well as crisis and consequence management. Over the last 20 years, the Secret Service has planned and executed 52 national special security events throughout the United States since the inception of our mandated role as the lead agency for planning, coordination, and implementation of the Operational Security Plan under 18 U.S.C. 3056. The Republican National Convention will be our 53rd National Special Security event. We have worked tirelessly with our partners that you see here today to develop a comprehensive security and contingency plan. Our strategic goal has been to develop a security plan that will create a safe and secure environment for everyone, those attending the RNC and for those who are exercising their First Amendment rights. We recognize this event and the ensuing security arrangements may cause some inconveniences to the citizens of Cleveland. However, it is our intent to every degree possible to minimize these disruptions. On behalf of the men and women of our Cleveland field office and the entire Secret Service, I want to again thank Mayor Jackson, Chief Williams of the Cleveland Police Department, and all of our partners for their outstanding support, cooperation, and contributions to this effort as we work together to ensure a safe and secure environment for everyone. And now it is my honor to introduce our ASAC and the National Special Security Event Coordinator, Mr. Ron Rowe.
Good morning. Thank you, Director. I want to recognize my deputy, Tim Leah. When Tim and I arrived here more than a year ago, we were sitting very well thanks to the Special Agent in charge of the U.S. Secret Service office here, Mr. Craig Wisniewski, and the partnerships that we developed, that the field office had developed, set us up to begin our planning for what will be a huge endeavor. And the Secret Service cannot do this alone. And what you see here today is a whole of government approach. We have representatives from the state, from the county, from the city, and also our federal partners. And I'm honored to introduce some of those representatives that are here today. There are countless others who have contributed to this plan and have put us in a position to move forward and be prepared to welcome the world to Cleveland next week. I'd like to recognize the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Steve Anthony, from the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Colonel Pride, from the Homeland Security Investigations, Mr. Michael Moreland, from the Cleveland Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire, Mr. Larry Gray, from the United States Attorney's Office, Dave Serlejay. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. And lastly, a man who has been a true partner throughout this entire process, somebody who has been a leader and has displayed leadership and leadership qualities and decision making that I truly envy and I admire. Chief Calvin Williams from the Cleveland Division of Police, and I'd like to introduce him for a few remarks.
Good morning. Well, first off, I definitely want to thank Director Clancy. He definitely appointed two great agents to oversee this, Agents Rowe and Leah. They've been great since the first day they got on the ground here. They've been here since last summer, and we've had a challenging but effective planning process. I want to say that the Division of Police, along with our federal, state, local, county partners, are prepared for this event. I want to let everybody know here in this country that we welcome people to Cleveland. We want you to come here, have a good time. We want the process to go as the process goes. We want to make sure that people understand our number one priority is everyone's safety, be it conventioneer, be it protester, be it average citizen out there on the streets of this city. We like to say, and this was coined by one of our deputy chiefs at Tamba, that it's going to be business as usual in an unusual manner. And I think the city of Cleveland is used to that over the last 18 months. Business as usual in an unusual manner. So we want to make sure that people understand everybody has a right. And we want to also make sure people understand that we don't want anybody to trample on anybody else's rights. The Cleveland Division of Police, along with our law enforcement partners on all those levels I mentioned, are here to make sure that everybody's rights are observed and that everybody, no matter what ilk they're from, come here and safely leave this city. So with that said, I want to again welcome the RNC to Cleveland and welcome everybody to come here and have a great time in Cleveland. Thank you.
Chief?
Yes.
I wanted to get your general reaction to the attack on law enforcement in Dallas, and also wanted to ask you and Director Clancy whether this has impacted your planning at all for the convention.
Well, of course, an event like that, a tragedy like that, definitely impacts our planning. It impacts this country as a whole. Our prayers and thoughts are still with Dallas, and chiefs from around the country and law enforcement from around this country are with Dallas and making sure that something like that doesn't happen again. So it affects our planning, but we have planned, we have what if, we have tabletop this from day one to yesterday. And everything that can and will happen, we have planned for. But of course, there's always the eventuality of something that may or may not happen. We want to make sure that people understand that our partners here are prepared for anything and everything. And we want to ask the public's help in making sure that if there are things out there that they know about, they give us a call on that tip line that we set up. That 1-800-225-8324, I think is the number, 1-800-225-8324. So it's a process, and it happens at every event, but yes, we are planning to make sure everybody's safe.
Director Clancy, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just echo what the Chief Williams said here. Also, I know there is a memorial service down in Dallas today. The President's attending, and Vice President, former President Bush, and our hearts and prayers go out to all the family members who were impacted by the events over the last several weeks. But on top of that, as the Chief said, we have been planning for close to a year. Tabletops, tactical groups coming together to train in one location. The planning that we've done puts us in a very good position to be very successful this week. And again, it goes to the leadership here in Cleveland, and that's what gives me great confidence as we take on the task of protecting this venue.
Clancy, can you address the issue? Ohio has a concealed carry law. Protesters will be able to bring guns to the area that they want to protest. The backdrop of Dallas, can you give us a perspective about how you're planning to address those who plan to bring weapons to them?
Well, I'll just address the secure zone, which is what the Secret Service is primarily focused on. And as you know, no weapons will be permitted, unauthorized weapons, into the secure zone. But outside, into the event zone and beyond, I would leave that to the chief to respond.
The city of Cleveland has had Second Amendment protests in the city in the past. We've had open carry in the downtown neighborhood in the past, and we'll take care of that the same way we've always done. People in this state have a right to open carry. There is a Second Amendment to the Constitution. We understand that, and our officers are prepared. They're used to seeing that in downtown Cleveland for different events, and we'll make sure that the people that are open carry make sure that we understand what their rights are and their responsibilities are, and we'll express that to them to make sure we're all on the same page. But we're not going to restrict anybody's constitutional rights. And I do need to make a clarification. Agent Roll told me that that tip line number is 1-800-225-5324. 1-800-225-5324. Thank you. I really couldn't hear your question, but I think it's along the lines of municipalities sending additional help to Cleveland. I think we've finalized all of our agreements with outside law enforcement agencies to send assistance here to Cleveland, and I don't think we'll be taking in any more because we're over the number that we anticipated, that we set for the city in the beginning. I can't give that exact number. I can't give you that exact number, but we're over the number that we set in the beginning. Yes, the question was about mutual aid. There is an MOU that's signed with every agency that sends officers to the city of Cleveland.
Chief, how will the arrest process work for protesters? Where will they be detained and for how long?
Well, as you know, we have a general police order that speaks to arrest in general and mass arrest specifically. We have a process in place that we've made sure we vet it with our court system, with our clerk's office, with our prosecutor's office. People will be detained in the normal manner that they are in the city of Cleveland. We're not going to set up outside shelters and things like that. We don't do that in the city. So there's a process set up to make sure that we follow the law and follow the Constitution as it goes to detentions.
Chief Williams, the union representing police officers has said that the city is in all-out panic mode, putting its security plan together. How can you have confidence in the plan if rank-and-file officers don't seem to share your confidence?
Well, I don't think rank-and-file officers share the union president's sentiment. I'll leave it at that.
When you talk about security cameras, how much of the city will be covered by security cameras so we'll have an eye in the sky, so to speak, as to knowing what's going on both inside and outside?
Well, we can't give up exact locations of security cameras. A lot of them you can actually see within the city, and there are some that you won't see. There are observation platforms that you will never see, and we definitely won't divulge those, but the city will be covered during this convention. Tom, I'm not going to give you that number, but trust me, there'll be enough video coverage, both on the ground and in the sky.
So will this room serve as a intelligence map where you'll be able to see?
I'll let Agent Rowe answer that for you.
So the Multi-Agency Communications Center, it is not a command and control facility. It is a place where we have the partner agencies here. We have embedded agents and agency reps at various centers throughout northeastern Ohio. And those locations and those operation centers have specific functions, and they feed into this coordinating center here, and there's a central hub for the sharing of information.
So Fusion Center is moving you at the RNC, that you get
Ohio has its fusion center down in Columbus, and we have connectivity with them.
Chief, how many other locations do you have that are going to be involved in this whole network?
So between the agency partners, there are numerous operation centers. I can't give you the exact amount, Tom, because of we don't want to tip how many we have. But all of the agency centers will have liaison agents and representatives both there and here, and that's how the two-way flow of information will go back and forth.
Could you talk a little bit how this process is more complex or more comprehensive than it was even like conventions 4 years ago?
Well, I tell you, I'm going to let the director speak to that, but no, I'll preface that by saying that no special security event, no two are alike. Each one has its own characteristic and challenges, and then I'll let the director address that question.
I'll just say that every convention is different, whether it's this year or 4 years ago or 8 years ago. Every site presents different challenges. Even this year, Cleveland versus Philadelphia. Each site has a different landscape, has different challenges. So Secret Service has one model for these national special security events, and the model works with the subcommittees, working with our partners who have the expertise in those regions, in those cities, and the communication that works with that model helps us to adjust to each different venue. I'll just, in terms of the threats, there's no specific credible threat related to the RNC, but I will say that obviously with the SAC of the FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force, again, there's a great partnership there. There's a sharing of information. We get timely information, so we are not concerned that we're not getting all the information as a group here. We have a subcommittee specific to intelligence, so we're very confident that we'll hear of things if anything does develop.
After what happened in Dallas, seeing reports by the chief there, I was concerned that it was difficult to sort out the attack. Did that cause you to consider any further restrictions on open carry outside of the security?
Well, it's not within the purview of the Division of Police to mandate state law or the federal constitutional powers. We have a process that we've used in the past for open carry, and we'll use that process, of course, ramped up a little bit based on the numbers that may show up. But we've had a very successful process. A lot of the local folks have reported on people open carrying in public square, and we monitor that, and our officers know how to respond to that, and we haven't had any major incidents.
Chief, could I get your reaction to Dan Browell tweeting that picture of the officer hitting his website?
Well, first off, I haven't, by choice, I haven't looked at the picture. I did have a conversation this morning with Mr. Crowell. He was contrite. He was apologetic. He wanted to personally apologize to myself and law enforcement here in Northeast Ohio. And, you know, the young man, in the heat of the moment, made a bad choice, made a bad decision, and he's apologizing for that.
Chief, can you respond to some complaints from officers that they're just now getting equipment, essential equipment, for the RNC? Why has it taken up until the week before instead of being in place in a couple months?
Well, I'm not going to respond specifically to equipment itself, but there is a process in place that allows the city to buy equipment from the NSSC grant, and it takes time. Right now, there are about a little over 500 officers from our 1,500 that are dedicated to the convention. Those officers have everything they need. There are some additional officers that are on the periphery that are in reserve that may come down based on what's happening with the convention. Those officers are getting the things that they need. But again, I have to stress that the equipment that we have, the officers, the training, all that stuff is ongoing almost up into that weekend before. We have to drill and drill and drill to make sure our officers are prepared. And we're at that point. Our officers are prepared. You know, in closing, I just want to make one quick statement. Mayor Jackson and the administration here has put together a great team for this RNC. They put together a great team to actually secure the RNC. And then with our federal partners coming in, our partners from the state, Colonel Pride and his guys, Director Boyne, our other federal and state, local safety partners have been all in from the beginning with this, and they have done a tremendous job. Cleveland is prepared. We invite people to come here, enjoy the convention, exercise your constitutional rights, and we're here to assist you in doing that. Thank you.